Hello everybody. We're going to continue on now with a demonstration of the actual arm beat patterns in 2, 3, and 4 simple meter. Compound meter I'm going to say for the next video because this one is long. That one will be much shorter. So we're going to keep this just for those 3 simple meters. But first I want you to listen. There we go. So hopefully in that music you heard a meter structure. Somewhere the beat and also the meter. First, when we're listening, we want to focus on where that beat is, then where's the cruises, then finally what's the meter. Okay, so ta-dum, ta-dum, ta-di-ba-ta. So you can sense maybe I was in definitely a 4 or a 2 meter. And it's sometimes hard to tell the difference between those two. And oftentimes things are written in 2 and it's really in 4. And other things are written in 4 but they're really in 2. So it's hard to pin that down all the time. But I was trying to stay in 2. So, and I wanted to give you the impression I was in 2, although sometimes I made longer phrases. Now, that same idea that we had when we used the chairs, you know, and then I didn't do this thing in that video where you could also use the chair back as the cruising plane. So if I use the chair back here as the cruising plane, then we have this same movement that we did with the chairs, where we're lifting up on the cruises and we're falling on the anacrusis. So we have a lift, fall, lift, fall, lift, fall, lift, fall, lift, fall, lift, fall, lift, fall. Now, what really is working physically when I'm doing this? First, my heels are coming off the ground. They are not stationary. You can be pleasant and you can look really good, or as good as you can. But what's missing? Look at the difference. What happens? All of a sudden, I'm alive. My whole body is involved. And I'm in front of students, especially children. I want to show them I have the music in me. They can see it in me. And you remember, when you're teaching children, you are it. You are their example. So you have to be as much the music as possible. So this helps a lot, having those heels lift off the floor. So we do 2 hands, okay, the heels, the heel, and it lifts. And you can see that little burst of energy that I was talking about in the previous slide, where at the beginning you have this little burst, and then you have to resist falling. You see, that's where the work comes in. That's where you should feel it in your thighs and feel it in your calves until you get really used to it. So, and if you're feeling it in the thighs and the calves, it's meaning you're doing it right. So we have lift, fall, lift. Now, what else is actually moving? Do you notice something? My wrist. This is the most important spot when you're doing arm beats, because it is where the arm bends. So if I have somebody holding me down or a weight on me, I have to lift my arm. I'm going to lift it, but I'm not going to lift it like that. I'm going to go like that. Because it's this point that the resistance is the greatest. So I'm taking on that resistance with this point, and then as it falls, the wrist also descends. So here from the side, you see lift, fall, lift, fall. And my whole body follows that wrist. Actually, I have a sense that this wrist is actually taking me up. Not the other way around, where the heels are, no, the wrist is pulling me, and the wrist is pushing me. The wrist is pulling, the wrist is pushing. Lift, fall, lift and fall. Dum dum da dee dee da dum ba, dum ba, rum bum ba, rum bum ba, rum bum ba. Yeah, so that this joint, even if we're moving freely in space, and I move my arm like this, okay? Or I move my arm like this. Wrist. It's actually guiding the move. Now my shoulder and elbow helped in that one. See, my shoulder comes up first, it pulls my elbow, and then my wrist follows that in that particular instance. But if I'm just using the arm, not the shoulder, see the arm, the wrist is where the fulcrum is. So we lift, fall, and yeah, yes, and the elbow is involved, yes. Now if I go twice as fast, am I going yum ba yum ba ba? So we lift, fall, dee da dum dee da dum da da dee da dee da dee da dee dum da 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 dee dee dum bum bum ba dee bum dee dum dee da da dee dee da ba dee da da. Return ram da ram bum bum ba ba dum da dee da da dum ba dum dum up ram ba 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 ram ba ba be da dum ba da da yum ba da dee da. Return now rum bum ba. Just the weight of your body, you sense the push and the pull. Dum dee da 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 yip yum dum dee dum da dum da 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 dee da da dee da da dee da da dee da da da, and stop. Wonderful. Let's try it with some music. I improvised just before I started this little thing, and I created this one piece in simple 2 meter, but it also can be done in 4. So let's listen, and we'll move along with the music this time. Try 2. That's it. I'll get a little more on the side so you can see the wrist. That's it. Now listen carefully, because now we can really follow the agagics, the nuance. Yes! Good enough. Yes. Yes, wonderful. Okay, so that's the 2. Okay, so there we have 2 beats. We have the cruises and the anacrusis. Now, without these 2 beats, there are no meters. You must have the cruises and its reaction. The action, reaction. If you don't have action, reaction, you don't have meter. So, in theory, people can say there's a meter of 1, and it's used a lot. But in practice, in musical terms, there's no such thing. Oftentimes people will group those ones into a 4-bar phrase or a three-bar phrase, and then you feel more like it's in 3 or 4. So there's really no such thing as one beat in a measure. So what we can do now, if we have another beat, so we're going to have 3 beats. So where is that 3rd beat? We know we're 1, 2. We know that now there's a new beat. The new beat is out here, where we open up the body. So we lift, lift, fall. Lift, lift, fall. Lift, lift, fall. Lift, lift. Now what's working again? Yes, the heels. But the wrist? The wrist works a little differently now. So now the technique of the wrist has to be on a lateral plane. So I have to move it laterally. But actually I'm moving it laterally in a diagonal. So lift, lift, see this part, this spot here, that's taking me up. Then when I'm going from cruises up, it's this that's taking me up. Then it shifts. Then it falls. And then it shifts again to take me down. So I have this sort of habit of doing this thing here. You can certainly come straight down. Or on the side. I like this. Obviously I like that way. But what's the thing here? Is that I'm experiencing the space between the beats. Now, this beat out here has a name. It's called metacrusis. Meta in Greek means middle. So we have the middle cruises, and then the anacrusis. And the anacrusis is the ana, you heard in the previous slides, that is a prefix in Greek that means against. So it's the counterpart to the cruises, meaning even in the Greeks' mind, you had to have a counterpart. You had to have a response. You had to have something else so that you can come back to the beginning again. You can't get to one without getting someplace else first and then get back to it. It's just not possible. Physics is the issue here. So, 3, both hands. Now, the left hand, boom, D, does the same thing. Look, I have the bone, bone. Okay, so let's try that again. Lift, 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 fall. There we go. Lift, lift, fall. Something looked funny, and I just realized I'm doing it in the camera, which means I'm in the mirror image. So, dee da da dee da ram, dee da da ram da da dee da 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 dee da da ram ba da ram ba da dee da 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 da. You can see the wrist yum. So da dee da da ram ba da dee da da. So technically, it's heels working in conjunction with the ankles and knees. Then it's wrists working in conjunction with the elbow and shoulder. But this is the focus, and the heel is the focus. And like I said before, I really have this sense, you can see my wrists are pulling me up. See, they, boom. And my arm has a little response that follows as well. My forearm is following my wrist, but my wrist is the leader, and my heel is the leader. Those two things work exactly together. Let's try doing the meter of 3 with some music instead of just me singing. Now you want to listen carefully. resistance. There we go. Yeah, lovely. Yeah. Now, let's talk about the next meter. 4. So now we have a new beat. What's that new beat? Well, and where does it go? So here's our 3, right? Where's 4 go? Well, hate to break it to you, but 4 is already there. 4 is the last one. And 1 is already there. Now the question is this the next one? Well, if this is the next one, then I'm going to be here at my anacrusic point 1 beat too early. Because this point always goes to that point. So this metacrusis is always before the anacrusis. So now we have another metacrusis, another middle beat. So it goes out here so that it can prepare us for that one. Also, and more importantly, it goes here and it follows the cruises. So it follows, then we move, and then we prepare. And then we da, di, da, ya, da, 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 da. So this beat, no matter what meter you're in, is always preparing this beat. Let's say if we do it in 5. 1, 2, 3. Bingo, bongo, bum. 2, 3. There it is again. We do it in 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, there it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now 7. 1, no, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So measures don't grow on the ends. It's not beat 1, 2, beat 1, 2, 3, beat 1, 2, 3, 4, as most people think of it. The measures grow from the center out. Because these two planes are always there. Let's try this 4. We have a lift and we go off. Now you can use your shoulder as a point of departure. Lift, pull away, fall. Lift, pull away, fall. Now notice that when I'm lifting from my heels, I'm really much slower now because I can only go so far. I can't get higher than this. So I need to take that space, which is fixed, see? And the music is fixed. Time and space are fixed. So what has to happen? My energy has to change. So I have more resistance here. So my energy part of the quotient is bigger. And the space is smaller. So I have more energy, you see, in the same space. So that means I should have more space to fill that time. But I don't. So my space is shrunk in relation to the time I have. So let's listen to 4 music. same spot. Yes. So we're going twice as slow. Four. Yeah. That's the idea. Yeah. So let's just a little review. First and foremost, we are trying to get a sense of the space between the notes. Just like Debussy had this idea. It's all about the space. Next, experiencing this has to come from the ground up. So the heels have to be responsible for getting this buoyancy out of the ground. You've got to get that lift out of the keyboard, just as you get the lift out of your heels. So when you're improvising, same concept. You have to play with that sense of lift. So you get that here. So it's the heels in working with the wrist. Give myself the sense that I'm lifting, actually, my heels from my wrist. Short demonstration. Hope it worked for you. Stay tuned. Go to the next slide because I've just a little bit more to tell you.